It's 9:15. If you're taking part in The Apprentice, it's the last thing you want to be the first person to be booted off. But our next guest has earned that dubious honour. Someone had to. And last night we saw Dan Harris face those words, "You're fired," in Britain's most brutal boardroom.
For the first task of the series, candidates had to not just sell sausages on the streets of London, but make them first. Dan's selling technique was described as like a bull in a china shop. Before we meet him, let's see how he got his marching orders.
I've looked at your resume. You obviously know how to do something. You're no idiot. But Stuart, you've made some ridiculous statements across the table here to me. It ain't going to get you anywhere. Alex, Karen did feed back to me that she didn't think you'd do much on the sales side, cooking a few sausages and kind of like step back a little bit.
Can I just say something?
No, you can't say anything. So on balance, the failure of the task in this particular case was down to the team leader. I think you had your chance. You blew it. Dan, you're fired.
You blew it. Morning, Dan.
Morning.
Well, I mean, you put yourself right up there. You know, so I'll be project manager, but you were a bit too gung-ho, really, weren't you?
I think the first person to go forward to be project manager is taking a big gamble. I think having met the boys' team, I think being the eldest there by some years, I think questions would have been asked of me had I not put myself forward. So it was a high-risk strategy, and had we sold a few more sausages, it would have paid off, and I'd have had a chance to mellow into the show.
Is there a very small margin between you and the girls on that?
Yeah, it was just £15, but I think that the girls were incredibly impressive, weren't they? And they were a very tough act to beat, so well done the girls.
Yeah, oh, you're very gracious in defeat. Yes, I was thinking exactly that, because there was a sort of deadly silence when who wants to be project manager was asked. Because really what you're saying is it's kind of 50-50. Because in the very first episode, if your team loses, you know that as project manager, your head's on the line. Whereas further down the series, when we know more about the personalities and Lord Sugar's kind of met a few more people, other people might get the blame, mightn't they?
I think quite possibly, yeah. So somebody's going to get fired in the first week, and I didn't really want it to be me, but it was a risk. I don't regret putting myself forward. I just would have liked to perform slightly better.
You were very bullish. You were really aggressive, though, weren't you? Is that what you're like?
I think the way I come across on the show is an amplified version of my own personality. I think the pressure you feel when you realise that there are so many millions of people watching that show, it's like a show I've been a fan of for so many years, it puts you under an intense amount of pressure. And I think if I had time again, I would have handled it differently. It's certainly not reflective about how I build relationships in the real world.
Shall we have a little look at why you're described as a bull in the china shop? Here we go.
Thanks.
Waiting on. Get that done now.
Dan's management style is just to stand around shouting out orders to people and not actually doing much himself. And this really isn't going down very well.
Get it in there, make it up later. We've got all the ingredients in. Ooh. So he said initially press the bottom button. Button. Oh, fantastic. And now we can start moving. Can we get a second opinion on the consistency?
I just want to pack something. No one's going to buy thin air. I'd rather sell a dodgy sausage than a no sausage.
I think that's done. We'll stop it. Yeah? Yeah. So now, guys, who is responsible for taking the meat from here in the hopper?
Shove that down the tube.
Yeah, but we need a hopper here.
It's in the hopper. I put the hopper
there. fantastic. OK. As quickly as quickly as possible.
City, really, wasn't it?
And you were standing in the background shouting at everybody.
Yeah, with hindsight, I don't think that helped.
And you produced a sausage which, to be honest, didn't look great, but it was sort of pile them high, sell them cheap idea. Where you probably went wrong was with the selling. I mean, at one point you were going around, it looked like you're going around Notting Hill, pressing people's buzzers on their building doors and trying to sell them through the intercom. It was a bit nuts, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think in desperate times, desperate measures are called for. When we arrived in Notting Hill, it was very early in the morning, so there was a chance that somebody might have wanted some sausages for breakfast, but I think it was unlikely he was going to buy sausages from some chap they'd never heard from before.
Now, Karen Brady, of course, was watching you all the time. She's become one of Lord Sugar's right-hand, left-hand people. She thinks she's literally his right-hand person. What was she like having her around watching you work?
I mean, Karen, I think, has been an inspiration for businesswomen across the country, and it was a real pleasure to work with her, albeit for a very short period of time. So, yeah, great person. I think a great asset for the show.
Okay, that's what you're supposed to say. And actually, what was it like having her watch your every move and actually being very critical of you, wasn't she?
Yeah, but you don't see any of that while the task is being performed.
Right.
And I think everything she said after the event was absolutely fair. She was very standoffish. Her role there is to observe, not to be a mentor, not to coach us, not to offer advice, just to observe.
Did I hear correctly in the boardroom it said that you had or been worth more than £2 million at one point and lost it?
Yeah, that was said in the boardroom, yeah.
Was it true?
It is true, yeah.
What happened?
I built up a business when I was 22 years old, a very successful company that at one point had a valuation that would have made me worth that sort of money had I sold that company. I sold that business some years later. I moved on to another venture which was less successful. But all of those experiences in business have taught me about how things should be done, and what I'm involved with currently back in the IT world, I think has a potential to earn a lot more than that.
So you're back on your feet again now after your apprentice knockdown?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not getting knocked down, it's a staying down that keeps you out of the game. So, yeah, certainly bouncing back.
Do you think once people have seen The Apprentice that they'll treat you differently when they meet you, when they do business deals with you? Do you hope that it'll have a positive effect?
I hope it'll have a positive effect, yeah. I don't know if people will treat me differently. I think the next few weeks will tell if that's the case.
Well, do you have any employees in your IT enterprise?
At this point, no, I don't. But in the future, we'll have to look at our recruitment strategy.
Yes, no one to shout at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, it's all down to me at the moment, so
Do you
I'll shout at myself.
Shout at yourself
Give
in
myself
the
a
mirror.
good talking to in the morning.
Do you
All
tip
right.
one of the girls or one of the boys to win?
It's difficult to say. They're all fantastic candidates. I think Jamie from the boys' team is very, very strong. And personally, I really think Melissa's a great candidate from the girls' team.
We've got to spend longer getting to know them, haven't we?
Yeah.
But Dan, for now, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commiserations.
If you missed any of last night's Apprentice, you can still watch it, of course, on the BBC iPlayer.
Although we have rather given it away.